There we go. All right. So welcome everybody to team training for Tuesday night. It's really nice to see so many people on at the very start of the call, and I know people are going to just keep jumping on. So welcome to the call tonight. Before we get down to business with our actual training, I just wanted to throw up a few reminders. First of all, the Silver Challenge is on Freedom Revolution, and if you're on there, great. You should make sure that you're rallying for your downline, and if you're new, make sure you get on there, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, ask your sponsor or ask a friend on the team, because it is, the steps are really awesome for helping you reach that. And honestly, like, who wouldn't do that for $275 US this month? And, you know, we all want to see everybody succeed and do well. And we know that first rank to silver is just so important. So do make sure that you're getting on to Freedom Revolution and finding those. I think hashtag Silver Challenge, and then hashtag the day of the week and the date is what you want to do. And Julie's going to type those into the chat just in case I got it wrong. Thanks, Julie. And secondly, for those of you who are in the Moncton area, there's a Plexus event this weekend. And a lot of you guys have been invited to that. And it's right in Moncton. And there's an event for that. And Mel and Wanda are organizing that. So Mel, can you just unmute yourself and tell us where that is real quick? Oops.
Hi.
Hey.
Hello. It's at, it's in Dieppe, and I should check what the address is. I just know because I go there all the time. I know how to get there.
That's
but
okay.
It's at the Fox Creek Golf Club.
That's right.
Yeah, it's the Fox Creek Golf Club. So it's St. James Gate in Dieppe, because don't mistake it, because there's one in Moncton and there's one in Shediac. This one is the one in Dieppe. The reason why we like it there is because there's tons of parking. And it's much bigger compared to Moncton. It's right downtown. Parking is not really available, and it's really, really tiny in there. But it's awesome because we get our own room, we get couches, we get a fireplace, we get tables and chairs, and we mingle and we talk about our Plexus journey. So it's really fun.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Thank you so much, Mel. And thanks for organizing that for everybody. So if you're in and around the Moncton area, do jump on that train for this weekend, and I look forward to hopefully meeting lots of you guys there. If you haven't registered for the corporate event yet, the live stream, make sure you get registered for that. If you didn't get the email, let somebody know. Talk to your sponsor, throw it on the Help Me Revolution team page so that we can make sure that you have that information. All right, I think that is all the little reminders that I wanted to talk about tonight. But do make sure you get involved, guys, because being involved in the community makes you go up a lot faster and makes you successful a lot faster. All right, so my job tonight is also to talk to you about the next chapter in Get Over Your Damn Self, which has been an incredible book. I don't know if you guys are reading it, or if you're following the training, or you're doing both, or maybe you're listening to the audio. But I know for me personally, sorry, I forgot to mute everybody. Hang on. I've been doing that lately. Okay, I think we're good. So if you are following one of those modalities, or maybe you're doing it all, that's awesome. For me personally, I started to say I read and listen to these chapters, several times before I really fully grasp them. And I know Krista had posted something on Freedom Revolution last night, like, who's reading this book? And Suzette commented not long thereafter and said, I would recommend that you read it slowly and methodically and really take it in. Don't try to speed read this book. You won't regret it. If you look at the chapter titles, they all are very relevant to all of the things that all of us ask questions about. All of them, like from fear to objections to, you know, how to talk to people, what types of questions to ask, how to answer questions, those types of things. So all of this is just so relevant. Like every single sentence, I'm like, yes, yes, yes. So that's why it really makes it easy to listen to it, because it's just so thought-provoking and so relevant to where we're at, on our team. So I would encourage you not to just follow these trainings, but also to make sure that you're taking in the book. If you are jumping, let's say you're watching the replay and this is the first time that you've watched these, make sure you go back and watch them in order as well, because sometimes we talk about things that we assume people know because we've already trained on them last week or the week before. We do try to do a little bit of catch-up work, but for the most part, we just jump in. So the chapter this week is chapter 6. It's called She's Interested, Now What? And I would also argue that title to say, he's interested, now what? Because we do have lots of ambassadors. I see one on my screen right now. Hey, Mike, hope you're doing well. Hey, Mike. So she's interested, now what? So remember that we always have to remember what's in it for them. And there's a big long acronym for that, WIIFT. So what's in it for them? That's the key. That's the key, is we have to keep people engaged and keep it relevant to them. And the other key factor, and I'm sure you guys can relate to this because I can, is to keep control of the process. How many of you guys have ever felt like you were not in control of the conversation you were having with a prospect? Raise your hand. Me too. Like I'm way up here. Especially when I first started, I had no idea, because I was scared that I was going to be pushy with people. And now I realize, no. People need to be guided to the next step in the conversation. And the more practice I have with, especially the tools from this book, the better I feel about it, and the more confident I'm getting at actually doing the things that we're talking about in this training. It's unbelievable. And I'm going to cite you an example here in a bit. So keep to the important facts that help people make their decisions. That's really important. How many of you have verbal diarrhea all over people about the product or the opportunity because you just couldn't, you were excited and you were excited. They're excited too, but they don't need to know all of it. You don't have to give them the whole farm right out of the gate. That's really, really important. So the process in your funnel, we talk about our funnel, and basically your funnel is, people aren't in your funnel until you've talked to them, whether their phone calls or messages or whatever, whether it's out and about, they're not in your funnel until you've actually had a conversation with them. So you got to get lots of people into your funnel, and you want that funnel process. We all want it to happen immediately, right? But the reality is, some people need a lot of time in that funnel. But sometimes you're going to hit these people or find these people who are like, I think she calls them gunslingers in the book, where they want to jump in right now. And that's what we want all the time. But you have to really, basically, you want to treat every prospect that way, because you want to push them through your funnel as quickly as possible. So you want to have them intrigued, and you want to keep them curious and involved. So the thing about it is, last week we talked about all kinds of strategies and things like that in the vein of this. And the thing is, once you get somebody into your funnel and they're interested, you want to keep them engaged, and you want to do it quickly. So a really great question when you've got a conversation going is to ask, so are you intrigued enough to want to learn more? And I think, and I'm directly quoting the book when I use that question, and that question works. Okay, I'm going to tell you about why I know that later. Once they say yes, because they're going to, and that's such a calming question. Like, it's such a soft question. It's not pushy, but you're directing and guiding them, right? Without telling them what to do, you're kind of telling them what to do. And so the next step is one that we all do. Our company gives us the best tools to send people. Now, right now, you guys are all aware that sending shareables is not an option. We cannot send those shareables. But what we can do is we can go to YouTube and grab good videos. And if you guys are interested, I do have some really great product videos, but I wouldn't start with the product. That would be your last sort of pivot in the conversation. But there's lots of great, like why Plexus is the best MLM. Jacqueline Stanley has a wonderful video. I'd be happy to send it to you guys. And as a matter of fact, in the training post on Freedom Revolution, I can pop those things in afterward, okay? But you want to send them tools that are relevant to your conversation and that hit their pain points. In other words, what is it that you've recognized and discussed together that makes them intrigued? So what is their pain point? What can you solve? We talked about those pain points last week. So how can you solve their pain points with your business? And what about their pain point will be resolved? So not enough money for children's activities now has enough money for children's activities. Those types of pain points, okay? So you send them the tools. Now, You're not going to send them 555 tools. You're not going to send them Jacqueline Stanley's video, every product video, why network marketing is amazing, why Plexus is not a pyramid scheme. You're not going to do that because they're going to look at all that and just go, whoa. Even if they're a gunslinger and they're a go-getter, they're still going to go, whoa, this is a lot of information, right? So you do not want to overwhelm them at this pivotal, important piece of the process, okay? So, tell them what you're going to send them, tell them why you're going to send it to them, and then remember, less is more. Then before you leave the conversation, we've talked about ask a question to keep the conversation going. It's okay to end this conversation with setting up that next appointment. So I would love to, our next step would be, I would love to put you on my calendar tomorrow. Do you have time at 8 or at 9? So that we can follow up on this great tool that I'm sending to you. Always set up that very next appointment. It is very, very important. Don't ask for it. You guide it. So you don't have to say, so next we're doing this. You can say, you know, what I would really love to do is give you time to absorb this, and then I'll circle back around and give you a call tomorrow morning around 8 or 9 o'clock. That's some language that you could use. And maybe you have better language that works better for you. But ultimately, don't ask for the appointment. That's just the natural progression. It's the next step, okay? So that's really, really important. So when you reach back around and you've got them on the phone again, or maybe you're video chatting, or maybe you're on Messenger again, it depends. Although I gotta say the most effective way is person to person, like coffee date. But that's not always possible, right? Maybe your prospect's in Alberta, or maybe you're too busy because you have a day job and you have kids or whatever, or you're busy taking care of people in another capacity. So the next step would be whatever it's going to be for you, the coffee date, the phone call, the video chat, the messenger chat, okay? It's there that they're going to likely, if they're going to agree to that next step and they're going to join you for that next step, that's when you're going to invite them during that conversation to talk about the tool that you sent to them. And then you're going to invite them either to a meeting or an opportunity meeting or some kind of gathering close by. You're going to invite them to an upcoming event. And that's the announcement I have to make at the end. Don't let me forget, everybody. An event that's coming up in your area or online. And if none of that is happening that you're aware of, and you're in the conversation, invite them into a 3-way call with your upline, okay? Now, this can be done right or wrong, and Julie's going to talk about the 3-way call in a sec, but what I want to say to you is, do not call it that, okay? You don't want to call it that. You don't say, would you like to come into a 3-way call with me and that just sounds weird, right? So you're going to want to ask them, would you just say, you know what, next step for us would be, we're going to have a chat with my friend or my business partner, Julie. And the reason I want her in on this is because she has a little bit more experience than me. And I would really like for you to hear what she has to say, because she can bring even more talking points to this than I'm offering you at this moment. So she's really the resident expert. I'd like to bring her on. Can you meet at this time or this time? Again, set up the appointment. Always, always go for the appointment so that you're not leaving dead air, dead space, and so the conversation's not finished, okay? So that 3-way call that we call it is actually just going to be a chat, and it can be on video, it could be a 3-way phone call, but make sure you guide them to do it, okay? And don't feel funny about that. Be assertive, be positive, and posture yourself with confidence. You have something really important that you want to share with this person that's going to change their life. And this is the posture you have to take, and that's how you have to feel about it. If you're wishy-washy about it and you're not feeling right about it, then you need to get with your sponsor and talk about how you are viewing yourself, how you're viewing the company, the business, the products. Like, do you believe in this? Do you believe in yourself? And if you don't, you need to get that posture by attending these trainings. Talk to your sponsor, figure out how to get, we talked about peeling away the layers of the onion. So really, really just make sure posture yourself with confidence. If you need to practice that, do it in the mirror, or video yourself, or get your sponsor to see you do it on a video call. And those things they're all really kind of ballsy, I guess. Maybe they scare you to think about that. But if you practice them and you believe them and you start talking them and speaking them, you are just going to explode. Okay. And it's going to happen. All right. So I'm going to pass it over to Julie. She's going to talk about the three-way call. And at the end, I just had a few little comments to make that I forgot to make about at the beginning.
Okay. So now you're ready to enter into this chat with your friend or your business partner, right? And there's 4 really important reasons that we need to not underestimate how incredible a tool this is. Guilty as charged, completely underestimated how important a tool this is. This is a really important tool for 4 reasons. 1, this is your third-party legitimization. So this is how someone takes it beyond, this is just something my friend has. This is, this is a real thing. And they often hear things from other people better than they hear them from you. So third-party legitimization. 2, this is a form of training, because when you do a three-way call, particularly if you're newer to the process, you're going to hear how that business partner of yours, probably someone in your upline, does it. Awesome, built-in, on-the-job training. It doesn't come any better than on-the-job training. That's fantastic. Number 3, remember how Tanya said you have to keep control of the process, okay? And this is how you do that. It's the next logical step in that process that Tanya's been walking us through. You keep control of the process by, this is what we do next. And we need to move to a world where it's not I could have like a 3-way chat maybe with this person. It's like, we're in the moment now. This is what we do next. Here we go. And that's how you move them through your funnel. And last, this is how you're going to teach duplication. Because after you've done these as the person who's introducing the prospect to someone in your upline, you're going to be hearing all that modeling. You're going to experience it. You're going to live it. And then that's how you're going to duplicate down through your team. And we cannot underestimate the importance of duplication. Okay, so this is why we're going to do this, okay? Now, again, because you need to keep control of the process, this conversation is not a fly by the seat of your pants thing. This is a very controlled environment and process in a very specific time frame. So I'm going to tell you exactly how to do it, and then I'm going to exactly tell you what not to do. Are you ready? This is where you want to jot some things down. So, Tanya's moved us through. We're ready. You're going to say, we're going to enter in this conversation with my friend and business partner. It's tomorrow at 8 o'clock. Fantastic. So you get off the call with them. You have work to do right now. You have 2 things you need to do right now. One is you're going to confirm the call the day before, because ideally it's the next day, but that doesn't always work. So you'll always confirm the day before with both the prospect and the person who's on the 3-way with you, okay? And so there's a text or an email to them. So that's number 1, confirm. Number 2, and if those of you are reading the book, she calls this number 4, but this is number 2. At this time, you're also going to give some really important information to the upline person that is hosting the call with you. So you're going to tell them the name of this person, where they live, how you know them. I can throw these in the chat afterwards. What their current job or what they're doing in their profession, or what their past professions are, what that skill set is, why they would be good at this biz, why they might be attracted to this situation, because you've gotten them this far, so there's some kind of an attraction, so why that is. You're going to tell them about their strengths. You probably have chosen someone who's hardworking or driven or personable or whatever, so you're going to tell about those strengths. You're going to share with this upline person any objections that have already come up, or anything, the concerns that you know that are going to come up that this person already houses. You're going to understand why you're telling them this in a second. And you're also going to be very blatant with this upline person about what your goal is. Is this someone that you totally see signing up for the biz? Like, that's your goal. My goal is to enroll this person. Or is this, even though we're going to always go through that process, is really the goal here to access their network, or is the goal here to make them a customer? Like, you kind of have a mindset about where you see this person going. Okay, we're not going to cage that in, but those are the goals. So is the goal to get them signed up tonight? Is the goal maybe we're going to get them so they'll have the conversation with their spouse about getting into this? Like, what is the goal? So this upline person has all this information so they can do their homework. Okay, that's why you had to feed that information to them. So you've confirmed and booked, you've fed the upline person this information. Now, really important, and you should giggle on this, you have to practice this, because if you're using like your iPhone or whatever, you gotta figure out how a three-way call works. If you're using Zoom, you gotta do that. Any of you that have been on the Facebook Live group, you know that Tana and I go on there all the time to practice, right? Like, so you actually have to set aside time to practice this technology, because you want to be professional, you want to look professional, and you want this to work. Because what a sour taste you're going to put in that person's mouth if you spend 10 minutes trying, no, they're not here yet, right? So you have to put practice on your list to make sure it's going to be smooth, okay? And then when you're ready, it's call time, okay? You got me so far? Y'all with me still? So it's call time. So now it's call time. Bring on the prospect first. You've got your prospect all hooked up. Bring on your upline person first. And your role, because right at this point, you're taking the role of the person who is bringing a prospect to your upline. Okay, that's the model we're going to take right now. So it is Julie bringing Anne, my prospect, to Krista, my upline. Okay, you ready? So I'm Julie bringing my prospect. It's really quick. It's a short introduction. Okay, it's got some really juicy information in it, but it's really short. Hi, Krista. I want to introduce you to my friend Anne. I used to work with her in another school. She's a super outgoing person, has a magnetic personality. She's really interested in earning a little bit more money, but she doesn't want to bite off more than she can chew. So I'm really excited for her to learn about how Plexus might be a really great fit for her life. And then I again say, Anne, I'm really thrilled that you get to talk to my friend Krista. She has done an amazing job in building a wonderful, wonderful business with Plexus, and she has a fantastic perspective that she's going to share with you. She is full of knowledge and expertise, and I'm really excited for her to answer all the questions you might have. And then I sit back and I shut up, because now it's about the conversation that's going to occur between my prospect Anne and my upline Krista. And Krista is going to direct the call. Okay, so you see how that works? And so that's why I'm in the mode now of not only having brought into the conversation, but this is when I'm learning, because I get to take on training mode as I watch and observe and listen to my upline sponsor lead the call from here. Now, what is she going to do? She is going to take that knowledge that she already has, and she's going to weave it into this conversation that is still very directed, and as always, keeping it short and succinct so that we don't lose somebody, okay? So we're still never going to vomit Plexus. So basically, she's going to say, well, Anne, it is so great to be on the call with you. I think this is absolutely fantastic. Now, you may never have had a conversation like this before, so I just want to let you know, this is just a really great opportunity for me to tell you about my wonderful experience. And you know what? I'm not here to convince anybody or pull any legs. I just want to have the opportunity to share you why I'm so excited about Plexus and answer some questions and see if it's a good fit for you. How does that sound? And then she says, so this is my history with Plexus 4 years ago, blah, 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 blah. And she does a really short version of her story with Plexus, but what she does is she uses her homework and tries to connect some things with Anne that are going to be resilient. So you know that there's always lots of details in your story as you're telling it, but she's going to have been thoughtful about those things that she's going to pick out that are going to resonate with Anne based on what I told her about Anne in my email last night, right? So she's real quick. She's going to share her story with those relatable points, and then she is going to ask her, so what is it about Plexus that has, caught your eye? Okay. And so now I'm still Julie. I'm still shutting up because Krista has just handed the conversation to Anne. Anne is going to wrap up in a couple of sentences what she's interested in. And Krista's ears get about this big because she's listening now for all those things that she's going to weave into the conversation, right? So Anne tells her back a few brief things about that. And then Krista goes, okay, well, here are some facts. And she goes into facts now. So there was a brief story. That's kind of the emotional side of it. Then we pull in the prospect, hear about them, and then you've got the facts. Here are some facts about the business. Here are some facts about networking. Here are some facts about the income potential. Here are some facts about the products based on her interests and needs. And that I've just shared a lot of information. What questions do you have? And then the bulk of the call is answering those questions. Okay? Now, you don't want it to go on and on and on and on forever, but a typical person is going to have 3 or 4 salient questions that they're going to pose. So that questioning back and forth happens, and then it gets to the point where Chris is going to say, okay, so, we've had opportunity to answer some questions here. So let me ask you, on a scale of 1 to 10, where 1, you want to hang up the phone right now and run, and 10, you're ready to sign up right now, where do you fit? And you get them to talk about where they're feeling. So obviously, if they're really low on the scale, right now they're not ready for the business. This is when you can pivot to the referrals, like we talked about in the last weeks, pivot to the referrals or pivot to product. If they're in that, the ideal is that they're 10, I want to sign up right now. It's easy. Krista hands it right back over to me, and we set the appointment for the enrolling sign up. So, in a perfect world, it'd be right then on that call. But if for whatever reason, then I literally set the appointment. Okay, I'm going to call you back in an hour, and we're going to do this. Or I'm going to meet you at the coffee shop tomorrow at 2 with my computer. We're going to sign up, right? And then you've got that middle ground. So based on where they are in the middle ground, you might need to spend some more time answering and asking questions, and you're going to lead them to that next step. Okay, so the next step, like a common one, she gives a really good example about how a lot of people say, well, I'm not quite sure, I need to discuss this with my spouse. And then you say, absolutely, of course you do, and I'd be more than willing to answer his or her questions too, and you set the appointment. Why don't you go tonight? Is it possible for you to have that conversation tonight? And then I'd like to follow up with you tomorrow at this time. So it's just like Tana's been saying all along, you just move them through to that next appointment. Okay? And basically, depending, I can't tell you how it wraps up. It depends. If they enroll right now, Krista hands it back over to us. I, as the sponsor and the prospect, we finish up the call with the enrollment. If not, maybe it's the appointment for the enrollment. If not, it's the next appointment to continue the conversation. We wrap that phone call up. That's the gist of the 3-way call. And it shouldn't be any more than 20, 25 minutes max, for a bunch of reasons. But one of them is, can you imagine if this is a part of your practice? Like we just can't, the whole thing of this business is going to absorb your life. So you can't be having these really lengthy calls because you want to fit in a bunch of the week. But also you need that attention capture of that person. So you're aiming for a 15 to 25 minute range for one of these calls. Okay? Now, just before we say, are there any questions about that? And I know that Tanya could do a beautiful job probably of answering questions about that, probably better than I can. And she's going to tell us a little bit about one call she did too. I want to tell you about when it doesn't work. Okay? If you follow that formula, it should work. But this is when it's not going to work. Number 1, if it's too long. Okay? If it's too long, it's overwhelming, you vomited, it's not something you're going to be able to duplicate. You're not going to be able to do multiples in a week. So it's not going to become part of your operation. It's not going to be how you do business, and you're going to lose effectiveness. So don't make it too long. Number 2, if I don't start, because I'm the person who brought these 2 people together, right? If I don't start that conversation with a bang, with a very confident, firm, this is Ann, blah, 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 about Ann, this is Krista, blah, blah, blah. If we don't start that off, the whole thing is awkward. So even though I would stay quiet through most of that conversation because my upline is really taking the lead for me, my introduction part has to be ready to go. And you might have to rehearse that, and that's fine, because you really want that to be strong. Because if you start off awkward, it's hard to come back from an awkward conversation. And number 3, the problem is if they don't have the information to make a rapport with this person, okay? And part of that comes from the homework that I did that I sent to Krista, but you heard me say how Krista had to have really big ears in the context of that call, because she has to be listening through all those questions, through that little introduction piece at the beginning when Ann told us about why she might be interested in this. You have to be really listening, and And that's why you get rehearsed at this, because on your feet, you need to be able to make those connections. Okay, so if it didn't work, if it bombed, and you know what, let's be frank, oftentimes when things are new, they bomb. Don't worry about it, but go in and explore. Is that one of the reasons it bombed? Was it too long? Did we not set it up because it was kind of awkward, or did we not really be good enough listeners to pull out what we needed to connect that person? Because what this whole process is meant to do is guide them to the decision. We're always hopeful that the decision is that they choose to enroll. We do, but that's not always going to be what they do, and that is fine, right? But we want to guide them through that process in a very clear and direct way that we control, and guide them to whatever decision that may be, so that we're moving on and helping them build their business, or we're going to be able to take all the names that they gave as referrals and replicate this out with them, or we're going to get them set up on their products, or we're going to jot down their name and check with them 6 months, but we're going to move on to somebody else. I love when she talks about you don't want to get a constipated funnel. And that really spoke to me, because sometimes when we engage, it's really important to follow up. We know that. But sometimes if you're not being specific about how to move that conversation forward, you're just kind of in this stuck mode. So by following what she's describing to us, you're not going to be in that stuck mode. You're going to move this person, guide them through the process to a decision. All righty. So I was cheating and looking at my notes. Now I'm just going to look and see if anybody was jotting me any questions, because I went in true Julie mode. And no, I think we're good, are we?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so Tanya.
Awesome.
You want to tell us about how you put this in action?
Sheila says, love Julie mode. Me too, Sheila. Yeah, I wanted to share something that, and I mean, it's not, this formula just seems to resonate well with people. Like this lady has done such a great job. She's in a skincare company. But it sounds like she works with Plexus Worldwide. Like it does, just the way she speaks the book. And that's why I think I've just fallen in love with it so much. But I just want to share an experience that I had this morning, which started, this is Tuesday, so started Sunday. I prospected this girl from my past whom I haven't spoken to in 20 years, following the advice of my own training last week. I reached out to her and just said, I haven't talked to her in that entire time. And so the relationship building piece has just been me liking on her stuff and commenting on her stuff and staying the hell away, because she wasn't on my chicken list, but I wouldn't say that I was entirely confident to reach out to her. I'm going to be very honest with you. So on Sunday, I sent her a Facebook message. So I had keyboard courage. Okay. And I sent her a Facebook message, and I didn't have her phone number, so that was my excuse for not calling her. And I sent her a message, and it was just, hey, Melanie, listen, you've been on my mind. As you know, probably from Facebook, I am involved in a network marketing company, and I am looking to expand my business in Newfoundland, specifically St. John's and surrounding areas, which is where she lives. And I said, I would love to pick your brain, because I'm sure that with your contacts, lots of people who could use this opportunity. And I said, and you know what? Maybe you'd even be interested yourself. I'm not sure. But if I could just have 10 minutes to pick your brain and 10 minutes to get caught up with you on life, I would really appreciate it. Looking forward to hearing from you. And I didn't even say, do you have time on this time and this time? I lost my nerve. I hit send. Why was I nervous of Melanie? I don't know, because she never gave me any reason to be. But anyway, she answered me right back. And I sent out several messages like that night. And of the several messages, I'm thinking like there were 8. 2 people responded, and we made appointments right away. And now I just have conversations going with the others. But 2 out of 8 is pretty darn good. So I called her this morning, and we had a great chat. She was really excited to learn about it and happy that I thought of her as somebody who might like to be involved in this with me, which is never how we think that's going to spin, because fear is what's between our ears. It's what this whole book is about. Anyway, so I followed the very steps that we trained on last week, which was to talk about you know, she works studio work. So she's always teaching everybody's kids when everybody else is having fun time. So her entertainment time would be when everybody else is working. So she's the opposite schedule of the rest of the world, kind of like a shift worker. And so that was the pain point to me. And I have experienced that myself. So it was easy for me to do that piece when we got on the phone. And I also talked to her about, you know, the fact that she knows so many people because of what she does and so on. So it was very authentic and just very real. I did have a few notes, but I didn't script it. And we had some giggles and laughs and so on and so forth. She was really excited about it. And we set up the next appointment for Thursday morning, at which point I'm going to invite her. And she is very serious about both product and opportunity. Like it blew my mind. I've never had that happen quite that way before. And I know it's because of how I did it. I know it isn't because necessarily it's Melanie, because I think I've reached out to other Melanies and I've screwed it up. Okay. So I think it was the way in which I did it that worked so well. And don't even ask me why I didn't do it that way before, because it's not, as my friend would say, it's not rocket appliances, you know, it's not rocket science. It's really not. So, but it still takes practice, and it still takes, you know, visiting, and it's because of what goes on between our ears. That's exactly why. So we have this appointment set up, and my intention at that appointment is to do two things. And in the meantime, by the way, I am sending her tools. So my intention is twofold. A, I want to get her on a 3-way call as soon as possible with Julie and I. And B, we have an event for everybody. So this was the announcement I was going to make. We have an event for everybody on the team this Sunday night. Okay. I noticed that the graphic's not up yet. But I'll just maybe light a fire and see if we can get that going, or I'll make one. But we're having an event on Sunday night, and it's to celebrate this Silver Week. And essentially it's on Opportunity of Hope. It's not a Zoom. It's a Facebook Live with a panel. Okay. And so there will be Suzette Dayton and Angela Piers and Julie and myself. And we're going to talk about our main products. We're going to talk about the probio. We're not going to talk about the probio. We're going to talk about the Slim. We're going to talk about the Bio Cleanse and the Vital Biome, just because of our Canadian launch. And we're also going to talk about the X Factor Plus. Okay, so that product demo will happen. That'll be between 6 and 8 minutes. And Suzette and Angela are going to talk each for 5 minutes about Angela's health testimonial, Suzette's business testimonial. And before and after, I'm going to talk about community, and then do a wrap up at the end. The whole thing's 20 minutes. Okay. You're going to want to plug your potentials into that. And if you guys didn't know this, when a Facebook Live starts, you know how you can see it when people jump on? Well, if you're hosting it, or if you're watching it, you can invite those people. You can invite other people, who aren't jumping onto the Facebook Live. So if you invite people to Opportunity of Hope, you can invite them in that very moment to the Facebook Live when it's starting. That's their reminder. But in the meantime, reach out to them privately and personally invite them to this very important event. Okay. I would recommend that you definitely do that. Think back to the people whom you've put on Opportunity of Hope. Are they just sitting there straggling? Have you followed up with them? Get them, to observe this Sunday, because it's going to be amazing. It's at 8:30. Erica just put in what time. So it's at 8:30 p.m. Sunday evening on Opportunity of Hope. And it's for everybody, and you can plug your potentials. And because it's a Facebook Live, we can have an unlimited amount of people on it, because there's a lot of people on that page. People are much more likely to click on a Facebook Live than they are to jump on a Zoom app. So the panelists will meet in a Zoom, and we're going to Zoom to Facebook Live. And so what you'll see is just a Facebook Live. So you'll see this, but as a Facebook Live. Okay. And so that's going to be a lot of fun. So make sure that so I'm inviting Melanie to that, and I'm inviting Melanie into this 3-way chat with Julie and I. And, obviously, I'm hoping that she's going to be a business partner, but we'll tilt her to referral and tilt her over to product if she's not quite ready, if she's a 3 or a 4 on that scale. So yeah, that's it for me for tonight. Does anybody have any questions? Yes, that's Atlantic like maritime time. That's right. I think that's technically it's ADT. You're welcome. Any other questions? Feel free to unmute yourself and ask a question. Don't be shy, guys. I've made a fool out of myself on these several times. I don't care.
I don't have a question, but I was just going to comment based on the training about the three-way calls, because Tanya and I actually did one this week with a prospect that I had, and it actually went longer than than the 20 minutes that you're saying, 25 minutes. But Tanya actually shut it down in the end because she had to go, which actually I think worked out really well, because at the time I was thinking of all the things that I still wanted to tell her, and then Tanya ended the conversation, which I think was good because we had given her so much information. But one of the other things we did was afterwards, we had like a chat with the three of us in it, just the three of us. And when she had questions later on based on talking to her husband, she posted them. Tanya knew I wasn't available, but she went in and seen them, and she answered those questions for her. So I think that really helped having the three-way chat option afterwards, like privately, because she's been posting any questions she's had there, and had even some conversation afterwards, which was good because we did the three-way, and she's had time to think, and now she's asking more after. So just something to think about too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks, Erica.
And I also would like to add, as you continue three-way conversations into three-way chats, I would strongly encourage this. So now that, for example, Tanya and Erica and this prospect are engaged in this three-way chat, okay, maybe not so much now, but early on in the process, it's important for Erica and Tanya to be on the same page about what that should look like. So just like in the way that I described on a three-way phone call, I was really clear on you introduce and then you shut up, you're leading it, you have those roles. You need to get with your sponsor and be clear about what the roles are, even in a three-way text chat. So don't just start a three-way text chat and then just expect it to happen organically. You want to hold control of the process. Mm-hmm. So it's a good idea to have a background chat just between Erica and Tanya, where they're communicating back and forth about how that chat is going, or they're on the phone or whatever, so that you're clear on, like, for example, I was helping someone with a three-way text chat, which is not ideal, but it was a scenario we were in, three-way text chat. And so I went in and I started, I didn't communicate clearly enough. So I went in and I started doing my thing. And just because the way that she came in and made a comment, it kind of shut the conversation down. But if she and I had been on the same page about how that conversation was going to play out, it would have been more smooth. We would have moved that person through the decision making. So what I'm trying to say, not very clearly, is you have the three-way chat, but you and your upline also have to have a sidebar conversation of some kind where you're delineating exactly what the roles that each of you is taking in that three-way chat, so that you can move it through that process. In a nutshell, don't leave it to chance. Don't leave it to just hope it, I hope it kind of works out, but be very purposeful about how you want to direct that chat. So be ready to carry on almost two chats, the chat itself and the background dialogue about how you want that being moved through.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and one of the things in that chat, actually, some of the questions she asked, I wouldn't have had the answers for anyway, actually. And Tanya had the answers, which was really great, because Tanya had actually asked the same questions she said before she had started, and she actually had the original emails that she got back from Plexus, her questions. So that was, I thought, really huge for you to say, oh, well, this, and this. But when you have an actual printed email from them, I think that made a difference too.
Yeah, for sure. Are there any other questions or comments tonight? Just looking. Awesome. All right. Well, if there's nothing further, we will say goodnight for now, but I will pop those things that I mentioned into the chat, and a few of you guys are into the post about training tonight. And also a few of you asked to be put in that Facebook Live. It's called Freedom Revolution Facebook Live Training. And it was started last summer while everybody was trying to get comfortable with it. So it's a safe place where you can go and do a Facebook Live that the world won't see and just we will see. And I've done lots of blunders in there. So feel free to go in and do some of your own, because that's how you learn how to do them well. Okay. All right. Well, thanks guys. Thank you, Julie, for helping. I appreciate it. You just said such great stuff. We really appreciate that. Thanks guys. Have a great night and get out there and talk to people. Do it. Woohoo.